Good morning and welcome to the American College Application Campaign Site Lead Training for the 12th Year Campaign. My name is Christina Winstead. I'm the Program Associate for Outreach, and I'm here to talk to you about our campaign for 2017-2018. So just an overview of what we're going to talk about. We're going to do a quick overview of just the 12th Year Campaign. Then we are going to have some information about kind of what to expect for your first week, your second and third weeks of preparing for your event, your actual event itself, wrap up, and then the resources that we have this year, which we're really excited to share with you. So what is the 12th Year Campaign? 12th Year Campaign is a combination of the American College Application Campaign and College Goal Washington, which is our financial aid completion campaign. It links the important processes of college applications and financial aid, and it contributes to the state goal of ensuring that at least 70% of adults have a post-secondary credential. The American College Application Campaign, that is the campaign we're going to be talking about in this webinar. This is to help increase the number of first-generation and low-income students who are pursuing post-secondary education. We want to help all students have equal access to education and the support to be able to complete their applications and make personalized choices on where they want to go to school. We have lots of resources for you. Some of you may have already received your material box. If you haven't yet, I'll show you later on how to order those materials. We have a site coordinator handbook. We have worksheets and handouts for volunteers, student handouts, lessons plans, information and knowledge games for college-going culture building and for activities as well. So some really cool stuff. And then the third component, sorry, I'm going to go back one. The third component after that, of course, we're going to talk about College Goal Washington in the next webinar, which is in about an hour and a half, 2 hours. But that campaign will also include the WAFSA, so it's all financial applications for Washington State. We're really fortunate that in our state we have an application for undocumented students to complete in order to be able to get potential financial aid funds. And then the FAFSA Completion Initiative is a part of the 12th Year Campaign, and that's the data that we use to help schools do targeted outreach towards students. 93% of our districts have a data usage agreement in-house with us, which means that they have access to student-specific information to see if a student's completed an application, completed it with errors, or haven't completed it at all. If you don't have access, feel free to email me. We can see if your school has a data usage agreement, and if it does, we can connect you to your data user at your district. If you are working at a college or a CBO and you're not at the high school, you can always access that aggregate data to see the number of students that have completed a FAFSA and the number of students who have completed with errors. And you can go ahead and use that data to help make some targeted efforts in your community to help students complete their financial aid applications. So we know that with the College Application Campaign and the College Goal Washington campaign, those go hand in hand because we want to help them with both those processes. So really, this campaign, what it does is it addresses needs in our community. It's geared towards our first-generation college goers, and what it's going to do is it's going to demystify that application process. It can be so daunting to fill out a college application. You put your whole life on one piece of paper, and someone tells you yes or no, and that can be really scary. So we want to prepare students so that they know the process, so that they're not anxious about the process itself, that they are confident in the process, but that they also feel confident in their application. We want to make sure that we're helping students make those personalized college choices. We don't want them to choose a college because their parents went there and that's the sole reason why they're going to that college, or because their best friend, their bestie is deciding to go to that college, so that's where they're going to go. We want them to think about themselves as an individual and ask themselves some really critical questions about their college experience. Does the school have the program they want to go into? Does it meet their needs? Is it in a rural area, an urban area? All these different factors that go into college choice, and so we want to make sure they're making a personalized college decision. And that can really help them in being successful at the college they go to. I've had students in the past, so I always tell this story because it's pretty funny but sad at the same time. But I've had students that have picked colleges based on maybe where their family's gone. So I had two students, one that applied to and was admitted to Washington State University, and one that was admitted to University of Washington. Super proud of both of them. They were very confident, at least as I thought, in their choices of the schools they were going to, but I didn't ask them additional critical questions. So here comes fall, and I'm at my desk, and I get the first crying phone call. And those who know me know that it breaks my heart when a student cries, especially if it's on the phone and I can't be there to help them. So the first phone call comes from a student who, they're over at Washington State University, and Miss Winstead, I was driving and now I'm in Idaho. I thought I was going to be in a big city where there's a Space Needle on this side of the mountains, and it's so cold. And I was like, wait, whoa. What do you mean? Like, you visited Washington State University, right? That's where you're going to go. And she looks at me, she calls me and tells me, but Miss Winstead, I mean, my parents went there. I didn't really visit. I went when I was a kid, but I've tried the cheese and it's really good. Okay, so I had to stop and not chuckle because this is very serious. I tell the student, are you still in Idaho? You need to stop if you are. Like, no, I got back to my dorm. Okay, here's the thing. I've made some really poor cheese-based decisions in my life. Going to college is not one of them, but I can understand the especially strong, powerful influences of Cougar Gold. But you do need to go visit those campuses first. So when she came back for winter quarter, I told her, come back during break, come visit me. We're going to talk about seeing if there's a better fit for you. Meanwhile, as I'm coming up with some options for her and trying to think, okay, she wants to be in an urban area. She wants to be in a city. What can we do? The next call from a student comes, and the student is crying as well, but this one I can barely even understand what is going on through the sobs, just, Miss Winstead. And I'm like, oh gosh, how many more crying students am I going to get? They're going to all break my heart this quarter. She was at UW, and she says, oh my gosh, I got up here, and I thought we were going to be outside of the city. It's so loud. Why do people stay up so late? People honk their horns all the time. What is going on here? I hate it. Okay. So I tell her, okay, have you visited UW? I went on a tour once. It was in the middle of the day, and it just wasn't, it wasn't that busy. I don't remember us being in the city. Okay. So she visited, but maybe she fell asleep on the bus and didn't see where she actually was. Because once you get on that campus, it's pretty widespread. You don't feel like you're in Seattle. So when they come back for break, I talk with both of them. Both the students reapplied to different schools. Unfortunately, one student was able to transfer credits over because she stuck it out the whole time and got grades. The other student just dropped out because she was so heartbroken and just didn't want to be in that environment anymore and came home. So one student missed out on a whole quarter's worth of credits and the tuition costs. And the other student, was able to transfer those credits, but the student that wanted to be in a more rural area, who was a little nervous about UW, she ended up going to Central. And the student that thought that there was a Space Needle over in Pullman went to UW. And so it's really important, the reason I tell that story is because it's really important for students to go see the places they're going to get their feet on the ground at the campus so that they know that where they're actually going, and they make the decision for themselves. That student went to Washington State University because their parents went there and they tried the cheese once. As enticing as that cheese is, you want to make sure they're making decisions based upon their program, the best fit for them as an individual, not how delicious the cheese is. We can always send that girl Cougar Gold, but we can't get that quarter back for her. We want to support seniors who may not otherwise apply. So those students who don't see, that college is a possibility for them, we want to make sure that they understand, when we're talking about college, that we're talking about it in a larger umbrella, that we're not just talking about it as everyone's going to go to a four-year school. I always worry that that students have that pressure that there's only information out there for university-bound students. We want to make sure they understand all the amazing opportunities at the community colleges and technical colleges in Washington State, all 34 of them. We want to make sure that they understand that it's open door admissions in Washington State. So you apply to a community college in Washington State and you're admitted. Students understanding that, it's so important for them because then they don't get as nervous about the process. I worked at a community college for 15 years before this, and you wouldn't believe the number of times I had students call me and ask, I haven't heard anything yet. I applied last night. Was I accepted? And they would be so panicky that they thought they didn't get into the community college, when in reality, they should have known, they should have been informed that anyone who applies gets in, and it's just about processing the application. I felt so bad that I made a certificate for that student, and I sent, the students that had that happen, I sent them a welcome certificate just because I wanted them to understand the importance and the excitement of applying to a college. So we want to make sure we're talking about college in a big umbrella. As well as post-secondary opportunities. We want to support students in their goals. Like that whole goal for me is that they find something they love to do, because they got to work every day. We want them to love it. I love what I do. I want them to have that same joy. But of course, we want them to earn a livable wage. That can be very subjective to students, but we want them to earn a livable wage. And then at the same time, we want to make sure that they can get the easiest pathway from where they are now to that institution. So from where they are now to the school that they need to go to for training and into that career that they love. We want to also celebrate college submissions and create a college-going culture in our schools. And so that can happen a number of ways. We have some activities to help really get schools excited about, the college application process, but also you can also follow up in May and have a college signing day event. And WACAN has a wonderful toolkit and support to help you with your college signing days. And if I'm available, sometimes I come out to the college signing days too, and they are the best days of the year. So another reason this is so important is because we have some pretty big attainment goals. We want all of our Washington adults to have a high school equivalent or a high school diploma. We also want to have at least 70% of Washingtonians have a post-secondary credential so that they can earn a livable wage. So here are some suggestions that we have. So sites, in the past have had to do quite a few different things to become a site, and we've changed. We heard that was a barrier to becoming a 12th-year campaign site, so we wanted to clarify that we've changed some things. You no longer have to sign site lead agreements. You don't have to use sign-in sheets and sign-out sheets for your students. These are all suggestions. The biggest requirement is at the end of the year or at the end of your campaign that you complete a 10-question survey. And that 10-question survey, literally 3 of them are the questions I needed to answer, which is how many students did you serve at your event? And it can be an estimate. How many applications were completed in that time? So did they apply, how many schools did they apply to? And if you want to use a sign-in sheet, they're in your toolkit. So if you want to see where your students are applying to, that's awesome. But those are the 2 main questions we're going to ask. The rest of the questions we're going to ask is about resources to see what we can do to help you for the following year. So it's going to be questions like, what languages would you like materials translated into? What can we do to help you at your next event? Are there any marketing tools that you need for next year's event? What can we provide to make next year's event a success? That way, we can make sure that we provide the best quality services for the next year. I just want to make sure that this campaign gets better and better every single year that we have it. And so we use our site lead survey to develop resources and tools. So for sites, we suggest that you have one main coordinator, so one person who's really going to be the go-to person for putting together your event. We would love for you to have kickoff activities to get students pumped about this. And these activities can be focused around college exploration, preparation, and the actual applications. For your actual event, we would love for you to have dedicated time and space for students to complete those applications. And that can look a variety of ways. There's no one template that works for every school. Some schools open up their library and send, a certain period each class down to the library. Some schools have an after-school event. Some schools Some sites aren't even schools, they are libraries and community agencies that have an event after school or before a football game. But we want them to have that space, but that support where they feel comfortable asking questions about their application. It's great if you, for your event, if they're going to be working on essays, sometimes you can get a college admissions officer to come out and read those essays and help them with them. So we just want to make sure it's the event that works best for you. And that's why we have a lot of suggestions, but not a template of what everyone needs to do. We have our student workbooks this year. They are for juniors and seniors, so it walks them through both years and the processes of completing financial aid applications and admissions. We have our student survey, so this is not required, but we are going to continue to have that available. If you have 10 or more students complete the student survey, then what we can do is send you a personalized a report for your event, which will include student quotes if they provide them. It'll also show data on how many applications they completed. It's really good for leveraging more support your following year. And then that one thing that I would love you guys all to do is that end of year site lead survey. So before planning your event, we want you to think about who your stakeholders in your community are and who could maybe volunteer at your event. Maybe you want to have some business leaders in the community come talk about the work that they do. Maybe you want to bring in former students that have graduated from your school to talk about their college experience or the career experience that they're currently in. But think about your potential partners, and we have a resource audit in our toolkit for you to use. You want to convene a school team. So seeing that it can be, especially if you're having a larger event, it can be a lot of work if for just one person. You're going to want to bring people together so you're not the only one setting up the event, all the logistical stuff. And if you can, get those volunteers from your community or volunteers from your own student body. So other students, underclassmen, get them involved. Get them excited about, hey, juniors, next year you're going to be doing this. So, if you need someone to log people out of the computer even, just getting those underclassmen involved is always really cool. And then plan any American College application activities. So we suggest during that month, 4 to 5, that they can be very small activities. It can be that teachers wear their college gear to school one day, or they put signs on their door that says, I went to blank school, ask me about it. These are great because, if you have a student, I went to Evergreen, you could have a student that says, hey, wait, this person went to Evergreen. Hey, I heard they don't give grades there, so it's super easy. What's that all about? Then they can actually have a conversation about the evaluation system versus grades. If you are going to look at having college admissions officers come to your school for a college fair or for your event, I encourage you, if you're doing a college fair, put your event on the same day, because that way the college admissions officers are only having to come out once. Ask to make sure that they will help students work on all applications, not just theirs. Invite 2 and 4 year college reps. So you make sure you have a variety of schools coming to your event, especially if you're doing a college fair. The Washington Council for High School College Relations, that fall tour that's coming up starting September 11th, that is going to be in every single region in Washington State, every ESD. That's a great time to meet college admissions officers, as well as it's a great time to get updates from colleges. And then start contacting those representatives early, because their schedules, man, they fill up super quick. And we want to make sure that if you have a set date that you want them to come out, you might as well get that on their calendar now. Contact your local schools also to see if their leadership, so your local colleges, to see maybe if there are leadership groups that want to volunteer at your events as well. So I've had student leaders come out from Gonzaga and other schools to be able to talk to students about the college experience. It's that great peer-to-peer interaction that they're going to have, where they might be more willing to ask a student at a current school questions that are things they won't ask me. So I think they'll ask them, they'll have a little more real talk, and I think that's important for them. So if you can get student leadership to come out from another school, that's awesome. Or if you have students who are former students from your school who are in college, having them come out is also another great opportunity. And volunteers can do a variety of things. They can answer questions, greet students. Really sharing that college experience is great. I can tell them all about college, but they look at me like I'm the crypt keeper. They're like, no, Miss Winstead, you went to college forever ago. And I'm like, okay, thank you. And they just want to talk to somebody who went more recently. So having those student leaders is great. And then also having materials for them to hand out. If you're going to do an event that you want to have food or giveaways, ask for donations. Check and see with your organization if you are allowed to ask for donations or if you have to have your PTO ask for donations. But we actually have a template in the toolkit where you can ask for donations. It's got a letter of request. Offer to credit that business in your marketing of the event. Make sure you give them a thank you letter afterwards. Have the students write those thank you letters. I think that's kind of that lost art, but teaching them to write thank you letters is amazing. Plus, they love when they receive them from students. When I worked at a college and I got little thank you notes from students when I would give tours or come visit their school, I still have all those in a little file that I read every once in a while because they're so adorable. So have your students do the thank you letters. Also, if you can do the ask for those items in person, it seems to be a little more beneficial. When I was in high school, I remember we used to go out and ask for donations for events, for theater, things like that. And I think in person it's a lot easier to ask than the letters that they get. Be mindful though that some businesses can only grant so many donations or grant so much assistance. So thank them no matter what they offer. And they might not always be able to offer what you need. They might, you might be asking them for a donation of a gift card, but they might be able to offer you actual food or something like that. So, you might want to be flexible when you're asking for donations. So week one of your kind of activities for building college-going culture, we encourage you to start the exploration component of it. So having students explore, what schools they're interested in, what it takes to get into those schools. Some schools will do they'll adopt a door for a teacher's classroom door, and they will decorate it in the colors and everything of the school that teacher went to. And so they had, I've seen schools have done competitions. You have some amazing artists at those schools that will draw out the logo better than I ever could draw anything in my life. So it's amazing to see what students can do, but they are so creative and they get really excited about it. You have access to Career Guidance Washington lessons that will walk you through, some different lesson plans, as well as Career Bridge. You have free resources on Ready, Set, Grad. Washington State Gear Up. So our Gear Up team has said that you guys can use any of their digital resources, no problem. They have recreated all the pennants and paper. So all the colleges in Washington State have their own individual pennants on that website, so you can use that to decorate classrooms. And then you also have access to Check Out a College, which is the Career and Technical Colleges, Community Technical Colleges in Washington State's website, and it helps walk a student through what schools offer specific programs. Another activity that we have is through the American College Application Campaign from the American Council on Education, and so they have Why Apply Day. And Why Apply Day is a time that they're going to have more of a social media presence, really focused on September 22nd, where they want people to hashtag Why Apply, and they have a template that you can use, and I can send it out to you, that you just write why you want students to apply to college. How has it benefited you? How do you want your students to benefit from this? Why should they apply to college? And so Why Apply Day, again, September 22nd. If you decide to do it, go ahead and tag Why Apply. You can also tag us at Ready, Set, Grad. But it's really cool to see what people have listed and seeing where students who have graduated from certain schools are teaching at. So the woman in the bottom picture went to UW, but is in Michigan teaching. So I think that's really cool to see the different places people have gone and why they want students to apply and why it's so important. Other kickoff activities, you can have all your school staff wear college gear. If you are at a college and you're planning an event or you're going to be going out to events, I encourage you See if you have any extra pennants, sending them out to school so they can decorate with them, or even a PDF of a paper pennant, or any materials they can give out for their kind of kickoff is awesome. You're probably going to get requests for those. And so that might be something great to have. Some schools have tattoos, those are temporary, not real ones, temporary tattoos that they can send out as well. Have educators share their pathway to their career. And this is why. When I've talked to students in the past, they think that like teachers were these like expert students that all got straight A's and that they went to a four-year school directly and now they're a teacher. And even when I was an advisor, I always had students tell me like, you must have been like the best student and you went probably straight to a four-year. And I would look at them and like, no, like I was the 90s poster child of a slacker. Like I did not do as well in high school as I could have because I didn't apply myself and I didn't go directly to a four-year. I did my two-year degree first to save money and then I went to a four-year. And they always seemed shocked and like that I didn't go on this pathway that they assume everyone goes down. And the students that identified with that, it was amazing to see like, really? So I can do this. And like, yeah, you can get your associate's degree at the community college and then you can transfer to the university. You can go directly to the university. It's whatever pathway is best for the student, but hearing about different pathways is really important. And then maybe during advisory or during the week, have students participate in a 10 to 15 minute college and career exploration activity during the school day. So maybe they're going to do an assessment. Maybe they're going to think about those careers they're interested in. Maybe they're going to take 2 colleges and really research them pretty heavily. But having them do an activity really gets them thinking about and excited about going to college. We want students to apply, for me, I want every student to at least apply for one college. Please, students, if not, like, all the gray hairs I have come from the students that don't apply to at least one. But we have, some goals to see if we can get students to apply for a REACH target and safety so that they have more opportunities. So a REACH school, this is going to be a school that may not fit the student's academic profile. Like it may be a selective school, or it may be potentially high cost of attendance, but it's a REACH for the student. A target school is a school where a student's going to be likely admitted based upon the profile. This is not a school that they would settle for, but a school that they are happy to attend, but also would not be financially overwhelming to attend. And then a safety school is a school that they're most certainly going to be admitted to. They'd be happy to go there as well. We want to make sure that no matter the school they apply to, that they're happy to go there. And it'd be affordable with reasonable assistance. And the reason why a REACH target and safety is important is because now that the financial aid applications come out October 1st, some of those award letters are going to start coming out sooner for schools, and we want to make sure students can sit there and assess their award letters in the decision process before committing to a school. And by having multiple options for students, they might find that a REACH school that they thought was potentially prohibitive with high cost might be more affordable because they got offered more scholarships. They want to be able to assess that as part of it. And so having more options gives them more options to choose from. We also want, for preparation for these events, we want students to start thinking about those letters of recommendation. I do not want them contacting you the day that they're due. I would always get students that would come to me and say, hey, Ms. Winstead, could you write me a recommendation letter? I'm like, of course I can write you a recommendation letter. When do you need it? Well, what's today? Well, today's the 20th. Okay, so by 4, is that okay? And it's like 3:45. So I always try to tell students, if you give somebody more time for that letter of recommendation, they can actually sit down and write a well thought out, really intentional letter that tells an admissions committee why you're the best fit for that school. But if you give them 15 minutes, they're going to go into Word template, they're going to cut and paste. I tell students, you're going to get a letter that says you were awesome, but it's not going to be able to elaborate on why you're awesome and a good fit for that school. So we have a tool to use that students can request letters of recommendation. It talks about the amount of time they need to give a counselor or a person they're asking for a recommendation. I always tell students 2 to 3 weeks, and a template of what they should give that person for that recommendation letter. We want students to start that personal statement by drafting and revising, not just one shot where they just crank it out and send it in, because that's, it's a really important component for some schools. It's the only time you're really going to be able to talk directly to that admissions committee. We want them to visit schools, and have schools visit your high school as well. And so that's another piece of seeing if you can get them to do either campus visits or come to your campus. Or if neither of those are possible, then go ahead and doing any virtual tours that you can do. Using Career Guidance Washington is another option. We just want them to gather information so that they are prepared for their actual decision to choose what schools they're applying to. At the same time, they're probably going to be applying for financial aid. So I encourage students to put down every single school they're applying to on that application for financial aid. They can put up to 10 schools. I encourage them to use all 10 slots. That's why they're there. If they are thinking about 10 schools, they need to put those 10 schools down. If they're thinking about 4, they need to put all 4 down, because if they get in and they don't have their financial aid application there, wah, 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 it's not going to be a good fit. We want to prepare families, so you can send letters home. You can use social media. Most of the parents are on Facebook, not as much on Instagram. Students are not as much on Facebook, but they are on the Instagrams. So you want to send home, or even do an event page so that you can see who's excited about it and informing parents. If you need help developing a Facebook or Instagram image for your event, I'm happy to use Canva to help create a event page cover photo with information about your event. Just send me an email, and I'm happy to put one together for you. Just send me an email, your school colors, and the information about your event on there, and I can create one for you. Those of you who are not using Canva yet, it is an amazing tool, and it's free, and I use it for all the social media stuff that you'll be using this year. Information about parents' addresses will be important about determining tuition rates and residency, which residency determines that tuition rate. So students should be able to, and I've had this happen before, where they don't know their address fully because they moved there recently. They need to know their addresses of their parents. They'll need to know and bring their social security number with them for some of the applications. So just reminding them to do that, but to keep that information secure. And then if they have questions about residency, our Ready, Set, Grad page has resources to help them. Okay, fee waivers. So some of your students can be utilizing fee waivers. These are all the new web pages for the fee waivers to get them from NACAC, College Board, ACT, SAT, and College Board, same thing. They have a directory of all the colleges you can use the fee waiver at. Some colleges have a specific waiver that they use. Sometimes they'll call the financial hardship waiver. Some schools that if you take a tour by a certain date, they waive the fee. Always have your student ask if it's a financial hardship to pay for that fee. Have them ask. It's really important that they apply instead of not apply just because they couldn't afford that fee. And sometimes the counselors will have access to, a certain number of fee waivers at schools that they give out that are school specific as well. I went to a really cool event up in Everett where they actually had the high school or college admissions officers at the event that were helping with the personal statements, but they also get to walk them through the fee waiver process so they could submit the applications there on site. It was one of the coolest things I've seen. So if you have schools coming to your event, ask them if they can bring all their information about fee waivers and even see if they can process those fee waivers on site. It was one of those really awesome events that I saw students who were worried about the fee waiver component be able to go right to the admissions officer and get their fee waiver. So an application event, really we're defining it very broadly as student work time dedicated to college applications, and you providing those resources, typically in the form of technology, computers, and support in writing those essays. We want them, our goal is to have them apply to those 3 colleges, giving them dedicated space in the school, in the library, wherever you have available to you is great. Please use our materials to develop and promote your event. And then have event reminders. Sometimes you can put them, load them onto the screensaver of all your computers in the computer lab. Sign-ins are optional, so if you want to have your students sign in or even RSVP for an event, if it's going to be outside of school hours is great, so you can figure out staffing. And then you can always put something to hand out to parents later on. So maybe you have a kickoff night for your school coming up. You can put that information in the hands of the parents. Don't forget, if you're going to have volunteers, prepare them if they're not from your campus, like where to park so they don't park somewhere that's not a legal parking spot, that they have a map of your high school campus so they know where they're going. Assign tasks. Don't go in there and say, well, we'll figure out the day of. Just make sure you assign tasks so that everyone knows what they're doing. It makes it a lot easier for the volunteers that they know they're responsible for something specific. So if a student's supposed to make sure that the printer is full of paper and not jam, then that student will stick to that task. Your event week, you can always have a college wall in the hallways is great. You can publicize the application deadline so students understand the timeliness and the importance of timeliness. And this year we have a really cool tool we're using. We're using Remind, Remind used to be Remind.com. It is a text messaging and emailing service. If you sign up for it, you just have to go to, you text the number 81010 and you text a message at 12th year, and we will text you upcoming college admissions deadlines. If you ordered materials, this is the first thing that's in your box. You can also get push notifications if you have a smartphone, or emails if you don't want to have anything texted to you. But this will give you some timely reminders about not financially, but admissions deadlines. Have your staff wear college gear if they can, and bring guest speakers if you would like to. I think that's always nice for people to hear personal stories about attending college and the benefits of attending college. After your event, you're going to want to, if you want a school-specific survey report, then have your walk your students through the online survey, and that way you'll get, if you get at least 10, I'll send that to you. Communicate with your program's impact for local media. So maybe you have a number of students that applied, and now you want to push out and do a press release. We have a press release template right in your toolkit that you can use. Be sure to thank your volunteers and follow up with your school team to see how it went, and things that we do here is called an even better if. So you can always have it like, this was good, but it would be even better if, and then write them all down. At the end of every campaign, I have an even better if page, and I list everything that I want to do to make next year's even better. And then complete that site coordinator survey. I thank you a million times in advance for doing that. It really helps me provide you guys with the tools for the following year. So resources, we have some really cool brand new resources. So that first resource I'm going to reiterate is that Remind.com. So you're just going to text the number to the number 81010, and the message is just at 12th year, and it will sign you up. I will also be emailing this information out to all the site leads next week. So as soon as these webinars are available online, I'll put them right. I'll put this right in that email as well. We have resources from Ready, Set, Grad, Gear Up Washington State. So we have your site coordinator toolkit, your resource guide, those student workbooks, which are good for juniors and seniors, and access to that Gear Up digital toolkits that are amazing. New resources, which I'm really excited about. We have a family guide that Gear Up, College Bound, and 12th year all coordinated on, and so this is a digital resource for parents and families to understand what that first year of college is going to be like, and the social emotional development that happens during that first year of school, including tips for success, questions you should be asking your student, things that they're going to be going through. So this is a great resource, especially for first generation families that have their first student in college, and they want to understand maybe the things that they're going through and how to support them best. Another amazing resource that we have this year, so these are all things that people suggested and we're really excited to provide them for you, is Fostering College Knowledge. So this is a digital trifold that talks about planning and paying for higher education for youth that are in foster care as well as alumni of foster care. And it talks about the resources, timelines. It's another wonderful resource that we are happy to provide to you. And the third one comes from Christina Gaeta, And she put together the senior binder system. And this is all of these are in your digital toolkit. So if you order materials, you've got a flash drive pen that has all of these loaded on there. But this is great because it walks students through everything they need to know to be organized to plan for college admissions and financial aid. And so it just requires a 3-ring binder and 10 tabs. And those tabs will include things like recording the colleges you've applied to, your passwords and logins for those schools, your essays that you've written, your college list, a little bit of everything to keep students on track, to make sure that they have everything they need in one space to apply for college. And so you can use components of this. This is the resource that you're going to use to get the for those recommendation letters I talked about. This is the tool that you're going to use for that. And so it has a sheet that talks about when to apply for a recommendation letter and then how to apply for a recommendation letter. If you haven't ordered your materials from us this year, please do so. You can order right online at Survey Gizmo. And I sent it in the welcome emails that you got when you signed up as a 12th-year site. When you sign up, as you can see on the image there, you'll get, depending on what school district you're in, you might get additional resources that are from your ESD, as well as resources from us. We have I applied stickers, we've got workbooks. Each school will get 3, I know it's not a lot, but we had a little extra money this year. And so we put the student workbook and some other resources on a slap bracelet USB drive. So like those slap bracelets from the 90s that everyone loves, but they're not made of metal and paper, so no one's going to get hurt with them. They're made of rubber, and they have a flash drive on them that they can access the workbook. So every site will get 3 of those as an incentive to give out to students in a raffle for applying to schools. There's some popcorn in there for you, so that if you want to watch the trainings on your own time, they'll be up on YouTube starting the 5th, and you can pop some popcorn and watch our trainings. We're really excited to provide materials to help you grow your campaign and help students get really excited about going to college. If you order now, you will have your materials shipped between 7 and 10 days. If you have ordered up through 2 days ago, everything went out yesterday. So we had a couple materials that we were waiting on, but if you ordered as of 2 days ago, your materials went in yesterday's mail and they should be there in 2 days. If you have any questions about your order, let me know. If you ordered workbooks, your workbooks were sent almost a month ago. So you should definitely have those. If you haven't gotten your workbooks yet and you're waiting on them and you haven't seen them yet, please let me know, and I'm happy to research with a tracking number where they were received. If you have questions, need assistance, anything, please feel free to contact me. My email is christinaw@wasc.wa.gov, or you can give me a call at 360-753-7856. I want to make sure you have the best campaign possible. If there's anything I can do to make that happen, please feel free to reach out. I'm really excited for this year's campaign, and I want to make sure you have all the support you need to help students with the admissions process. As someone who used to work as an admissions officer, I want to make sure that they have access to all the opportunities that are out there, and that you guys have all the support you need to support those students and those choices. Thank you so much for attending the webinar today. Like I said, if you have questions, please feel free to contact me, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Some of you already contacted me about coming out to your school, so I've responded about that. I'm hoping to come out to as many schools as possible. There's just one of me, but I'm going to try to go to as many schools as possible this year for your events. And if I can't get out there, I'll get you connected with somebody in the community that might be able to come out. Thank you again for joining me for this webinar, and I hope you have a wonderful day.